Hello, and welcome back to another video. And today we will be reviewing the MCBC Season 22 teams. It has been a few months since the last MCBC, and boy, that one was a roller coaster. So I'm hoping for this one to also be quite the ride, and I definitely think that's going to happen with these amazing teams. But anyway, make sure to like and maybe subscribe. But anyways, let's just get right into it. First up, we have the blue Bullfrogs with Ponty Boy, Danda, and Genfire. Now this sees, for the first time ever, the duo of Ponty and Danda. And that's a pretty strong duo, as Angry Birds would say. And please don't sue me. But anyway, like I said, very strong duo, at least for last event. But overall, it's still like a strong duo. Ponty did very well in Festive, even with the disadvantage of having two new teammates to MCBC at the time. So that's pretty impressive. And yeah, he just did like good overall as well. He was definitely a very good like team leader to his team, which definitely helped them out a lot. But now he's with Danda, so they can kind of co-lead. As Danda is also very good. He's more good at PvP games compared to the others, but he's still relatively decent at every other game. Maybe not as strong as in Rift Race and such, but he's still a very strong overall player. And then we have Jen, who has not done the best in the few events she's played in. However, with the strong duo, Ponty and Danda with her, I definitely think they'll help. And overall, I think it'll just help them in most games. But anyway, as far for games they're gonna be good at, I normally would say Relic, but we haven't played New Relic because these guys skipped it last time, which is really unfortunate. I think they should not skip it this time. But anyway, PvP games will be this team's strong suit as they have two pretty decent PvP players along with one okay one. So they'll just do like pretty good in all of them. Although BR is a bit unpredictable sometimes, but otherwise they'll just do solid in all of them. As far as the other games, obviously Spleef is a wild card game, so I'm not really gonna talk about that. But for the more movement and team centric games, it's a bit harder to tell. I think they'll do pretty good in the team games because I'm sure they'll all have great chemistry. But movement's a bit hard to tell because while Danda is not that bad at like parkour and riff race, it definitely can be a bit shaky sometimes. But otherwise, I think this is a pretty solid team to start off with. Next up, we have the Red Raccoons with Defect, Generous, and Silent Whisper. This event sees the return, back to back actually, of Defect and Generous. And considering they did very well together last event, I'm expecting them to do just as well, maybe better than last event. Better might be a stretch, but who knows? Obviously, Defect did very well last night, getting third individual, which is pretty huge. The gap was also pretty decent, around 100 points, which in retrospect doesn't seem like a lot, but in MCBC terms is a lot. So, now, I didn't fully get to watch last event, so I don't remember what games specifically they're good in, but I feel like their team just overall did solid in like every game. And that goes along with Generous. They just did all around like good. Obviously, Silent Whisper is only played once and is like overall probably not as good as like some of the top players. But I definitely think he can do well, especially with the duo of Generous and Defect. I definitely think they can pull a finale with this team. Now, as for games they're good at, it's a bit hard to tell, as they're a bit more of a wild card team, in my opinion, at least for games, as they're not super strong in anything, perhaps. Like PvP, they're not super strong. Movement, they're not super strong. And in team games, I don't think they're super strong as well. Although Defect and Generous have teamed and did well, so that could transfer over again to them doing good. So that could not matter, and they could do good in team games. But otherwise, they're not like too strong in anything. But they're not like too weak, other than maybe Rift Raced, as it really depends on the day. Because Generous can do very good in Rift Race, but also not as well. So it really just depends on that. And then obviously Silent Whisper. Possibly we could have seen his full potential already, or maybe he could do better. But otherwise, I don't really know how good this team will do, but I definitely think it can still do very well. Next up, we have the Yellow Yetis with Slates, Monster, and the Alien Doctor. Now, as you can see, before I actually got the recording audio, there was a sub, so unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, as far as for how strong this team is, it's a pretty decent team, although it really depends on Sean, I feel. As last event for him, he did not do very well. He got like 15th in the middle or something, and just overall didn't play as good as he usually does. As usually, I'm pretty sure he's like top half, if not a top player, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. So yeah, and then we have Slates, who is a very strong player, and just like overall is very well rounded in every game. Not too strong in anything, but not too weak. So in a way, he's like very good at being like all around, and he can definitely like carry the team very well though in terms of comms and stuff, because he is pretty good at that. No, I don't know much about Alien Doctor other than the fact that they do a lot of redstone, which unfortunately does not help in most of these games. Maybe it helps in Relic, but I don't know if there's that many redstone things. So unfortunately, that won't be much of a help in terms of skills. But otherwise, I don't really know how good they are at PvP or movement. So I don't really know how well they'll do. Now, as far as games this team's gonna want, I think Spleef could potentially be a good game for them. And I know that's a wild card game, but this team really seems like just like all rounded, not too strong at any game, just like the last one. So I definitely think they can do all around good. Although I could possibly see Building Arena being a pretty good game for them as well. I could be wrong. I feel like they could have very good cons for that. But like I said again, I could be wrong. They could be good at different games because who knows? It's Minecraft and anything can happen. So yeah. Next up, we have the Green Griffins with Evident, MBB Gaming, and Gigi the Puppy. Now, this team also sees the return of the duo of Evident and Gigi, who did pretty solid last event. While they didn't get third or make finale, they still did relatively well, especially in the last game, almost making a comeback. But anyway, we have Evident, who did amazingly well last event, despite only playing one before that. He actually adapted pretty well and was able to perform much better than he did last time, just overall. And he definitely showed in PvP games more of a solid grounding than before, and still doing decent in movement games and team as well. Especially in Gauntlet, he did way better and actually went through the portal, blue portal immediately, which is pretty good improvement. I do say so myself. Then we have Gigi, who also did quite well, getting ninth place. She did like pretty good overall in just like everything, and especially in BR, she did like very well. Another like strong PvP. And then we have MBB, who won last event and also did like pretty solid. Not so much in PvP, but more so in like other games like Spleef and such. It's way more all rounded overall. So as far as games this team will be good at, I really think PvP will be their strong suit. And possibly maybe even Spleef. I think this team is like pretty strong, although they're more okay at movement. Like Rift Race isn't particularly a super duper strong game for them, and I have no idea how well they'll do in team games like Relic, but I think they'll do pretty decent overall. They have a strong founding. And who knows, maybe this team will allow MVB to go back to back. It's very possible with this very all rounded team. Next up, we have the Purple Penguins with Avery, Just Lumi, and Charlie07. Now, to me, this is the most wild card team, as Lumi has only played one event, and while they did do good, we have no idea if they'll have that same performance again. And Charlie is also more of like an all-rounded player who can do like good or bad in any games, making this a very interesting team. Now, obviously, Avery is cracked. She's like one of, if not the best MCBC players. The only other one I can think of is Plushy. Anyway, she's just very good at basically everything, although more stronger movement than PvP related games. And then we have Lumi, who did quite well, like I said, in their first event, especially in Spleef, although they did not have the time in PvP games and were just not as good at movement games. So that is a downside, I guess. And then there's Charlie, who is a Minecraft world player, but other than that, I don't really know much about them. Although, considering one, I'm pretty sure they're pretty decent at the game. So, yeah. So, as far as games this team will be good at, I really think it could go either way. I definitely think this team will do good in more team-related games like Build Arena and Relic, as I feel they have a pretty good chemistry, at least to my knowledge. Now, PvP, though, is going to be a bit rough for this team. They're going to want to avoid that. And movement's more middle ground for them. It's like not too risky, but it's not like their top priority. They probably don't want to play it as much as team games. But other than that, yeah. Last but not least, we have the Orange Otters with Plushy33, Ola, and Sal. Now, this to me is the most wild card team because I have zero idea how good some of these players are. More specifically, Sal and Ola. Obviously, like I said earlier, Plushy, one of the best MCBC players out there. Just a good all round player. Although, like Avery, a bit more good at movement than PvP, but still very good at PvP. And yeah, now I don't really know much about the two. Way less about Ella because there isn't really an easy way for me to see their skill level because I don't watch streams that much. That's the only content they really have, so I have no idea how they are. Although I'm assuming they're pretty decent. And then as far as Sal's just more like a general bed YouTuber. I'm pretty sure he's like pretty decent. Or like okay, I don't really know. Like I said, I'm just guessing because I don't really know. They're not like too easy, but they're still like pretty decent though. So as far as games this team will be good at, I really like don't know. To me, like I said, this is a wild card team to me. I feel like they could be good at pretty much anything and bad at pretty much anything. So I will say with Plushie, this team can have like a solid foundation for any game. They can do solid in any of them. He's just like a solid leader, which can help just so much. And I'm interested to see how well this team does on event day. And that is it for this MCBC 22 teams review. This may have not as been as good as the last one, but I've been super busy with stuff. So it was a bit hard for me to do research and stuff, which is also another reason why I have not been uploading as much. As you can see, it has been 2 months. But I'm gonna try and my best just to upload again, but it'll probably still be basically monthly. So yeah. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed this and bye bye.